Hey, what is up, guys? Real quick before this video starts, just a couple of things. This video is a clip of a longer interview that's about an hour and a half, so that's going to be releasing later this week. And also, I apologize about my audio in this video. My mic did not go straight to my laptop, so you're hearing pure doo-doo laptop audio. Sorry about that. But without further ado, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and enjoy this rare collaboration between me, Ace Boogie, and Flemlo Rap. Speaking of the Browns, obviously the disappointment of the NFL, or one of the biggest disappointments in the NFL. There's a lot that can be said, and there's a lot of opinions that I have on them personally. I'm interested in hearing what you guys think from the outside looking in. When you look at the 2019 Browns, you look at the record 6-10, and you look at the talent on the roster. What do you think happened that just made this season roll out so flat?
I think you already know, Quincy. You know, we did the pre-show going into the season. I had the Browns at 11-5, and I don't. For me, it was mostly based off of the talent on the roster. It was me putting a lot of stock into Baker Mayfield, taking that next step because I really like Baker Mayfield. I still like Baker Mayfield. Although he had a down season this year, if you study quarterbacks, you know some quarterbacks can have what's called a sophomore slump. I think that kind of came this season. I really feel like from the outside looking in, I feel like Freddie Kitchens, and I kind of said this in my projection video. I said that he would possibly be the downfall of the Browns simply because this situation was just too big for him, right? Like you're taking a Super Bowl caliber roster and you're asking a rookie head coach to really kind of command this locker room when he doesn't really have a resume that backs it up. It's almost similar to when the Cleveland Cavaliers hired David Blatt and LeBron came back.
Yeah.
And it was all of a sudden you went and you traded for Kevin Love and Kyrie was there. And it was like the moment was just too big for David Blatt. So they had to go and get someone else. And I think that's really what it was. I think the one decision that kind of sticks out in my mind is there was, I think, a primetime game and Freddie Kitchens just kind of goofed on some of his play calling, especially with the game on the line. And it's like, dude, you have Odell Beckham Jr. You're not gonna target him. It was just for me, there were just some head scratching moments with him. So I think ultimately he was kind of not essentially the scapegoat, but kind of what held the Browns back from my perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know how you can look at the situation and not say that. You know what I mean? Extremely talented roster. The only thing you could point at the easiest thing to point at is Freddie Kitchens. I mean, I felt like with Baker Mayfield and Odell in particular, and Jarvis also a bit, these are super emotional guys, right? So the head coach, they almost needed a guy who is a little more even keel, not somebody that's gonna seem super low, super high all the time. He basically was just mirroring what they was doing. It's almost like if like your dad is raising you, it's like if he like your homeboy, or is he your pops is gonna actually like put you in line when you need to be, or is he just gonna mirror all your emotions? You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's really what Freddie Kitchens did, and Baker Mayfield took a major step back. I mean, he kind of blew up over those last few games of last year. He got all his commercials, he got all of his stuff, and like he hasn't really cleaned up his self-awareness or his judgment, and he literally can't control his emotions at all. That stuff gets out of control. Then Odell get the tripping, then Jarvis get the tripping, and now Freddie Kitchens he's sitting there. He has no answers. He has no idea what to actually do. And just from the outside looking in, it really just looked like a lack of leadership, lack of leadership. So y'all did the right thing, I think. Get Freddie out of there, get somebody else in that's got some actual experience that could come in and maybe get the most out of the roster, because the talent is obviously there, Yeah. So y'all did the right thing, getting rid of Freddie.
Yeah, I think you said something interesting there, because when you do have Jarvis and Odell, I think people like to paint them as like divas or things like that. I firmly don't believe that they're bad locker room guys or bad teammates. I just think that they're emotional dudes. Like they're gonna get angry. They're gonna have blow-ups. And
Right.
Baker Mayfield, for better or worse, he's a very emotional dude. You know, he can let it get out of hand a lot. And I think when those three dudes are the leaders of your team, and then Freddie Kitchens is the head coach, it's a domino effect. It only takes one spark to set off Jarvis. That's going to set off Odell by default. And when Odell's getting upset, it's going to set off Baker. And then you have your team kind of imploding from behind. Like I've been not on football teams like that, but, you know, we've had like work dynamics like that where it's like, oh, right, he going to get hot, and that's going to make her hot. And then he going to get hot, and then we ain't going to be able to do nothing for the next 3 hours. Right. I feel like that was a lot what was going on. And like one of the things I would commend Zach Taylor with is that Zach Taylor did an excellent job with a veteran heavy roster, with a roster that's used to winning. You know, Geno Atkins, you know, AJ Green, well, he was on the roster, he didn't play. But, you know, like all these veterans on the roster that kind of expected to win, and that the fact that those guys didn't give up and that you weren't forced to trade those guys, like Miami had to trade some guys in order to have a winning locker room. That says a lot about Zach Taylor and his ability to lead as a coach. You know, what happened with Freddie is I don't think Freddie, he had the strong leadership in the locker room. And not to slight Odell or Jarvis or Baker, it's just they're all three kind of the same kind of thing. They can light up really easily. And it's just not a good fit to have those dudes be the sole leaders in the locker room. I think you needed more veterans in there, you know, older dudes. I think the Browns, the mistake they did this year was they tried to get so much upside, right? Like Antonio Callaway was one of the key things. So much upside with Antonio Callaway. Yeah. Where in reality, he's like the third or fourth wide receiver. You don't need upside. You need somebody who's older, who's going to be able to tell these dudes to calm down and, you know, be able to get a first down every once in a while. That's all you need out of that position. Yeah. But they tried to get the most out of that position. They tried to get so much upside out of that position instead of just getting the veterans. And I hope what they do this offseason is understand, like, all right, we're going to let some of these upside guys go that just don't fit right now with the locker room and the dynamic it is. And bring in some veterans. Bring in somebody like Jimmy Smith. Bring in somebody like Eric Rowe on the defense. Bring in some guys who have accomplished things, who have played in winning locker rooms, who know when to freak out, who know when to hit the panic button, who know when not to, so that this team can just have more of a calming influence. I've seen it happen so many different times in so many different sports. Like we talked about the Cavaliers, you know, like one of the things I think that really helped the Cavs is when they fired David Black, it allowed LeBron to really take control of that team because they were fighting for control with David Black and LeBron's influence over that team and the people that he brought in was something that made them a championship contender and allowed them to do things like bring in J.R. Smith and Amon Shumpert and have those guys actually have their careers reborn in Cleveland. And I think the thing that happened with the Browns is that we got so caught up with talent and upside, and we want to be this amazing offense that we forgot that it's not fantasy football. It's not roster building. It's team building. I think John Dorsey, you know, he has a huge part of the blame here. I think he got caught up in that too, and I don't think that he built a team. I think he just built one hell of a roster, and it kind of blew up in his face because you need those leaders. You need those locker room leaders. And I think
I agree.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's just what happened. I think it also was too much for the young quarterback, too. Like, Baker Mayfield's in his second year. He shouldn't be asked to be carrying a franchise. I mean, like, even the Ravens, who's Lamar Jackson is doing his thing, MVP candidate, who's going to win the MVP. He's not asked to be the sole leader of that team. You know, he's asked to just assist. You know, they have Mark Ingram on that offense. They have veteran dudes on the offense that help them along. They have a great offensive line.
You can lean
on. And then John Harbaugh, you know, he's taking the leadership role. The Browns Freddie Kitchens is a nice dude. I'm not happy to see him fired. Like, it really does make me sad that they had to fire this dude because I don't think he knew what he was getting coming into it. And I think once they traded for Odell Beckham, this became a completely different team and a completely different job that he did not ask to have, you know. Right. It's really is similar to the Cavs with David Black because what happened with David Black, he was hired before LeBron came back. He was supposed to lead the Kyrie Cavs and with Deion Waiters and all that stuff. But, you know, Deion Waiters is also one of my favorite Cavaliers of all time because it's the unmatched, unreal confidence in him. This is a sidebar. But, like, he would look at LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love and say, no, my contested jumper. That's the shot that's going to get it in. Dion, man, I love to see Dion go off. That man is too confident. But yeah, it is a similar situation to that. And, you know, I think that the Browns front office got caught up into that, and I hope that they can change things and be better because, you know, this division, you're going to have to be very good to win it. Like, it's not even going to be like you can be decent because I don't think the Bengals are going to be a slouch next year with Joe Burrow. I don't think the Steelers are just going to roll over and be last place. And the Ravens look like they're the team of the decade right now. So, you know, for the Browns, like, I think, you know, they have the talent on hand to compete with them. It's just you got to get the right people in the right places. But go ahead, man.
Quincy, that I wanted to say is what really surprised me with you guys was that you guys did not hire Bruce Arians, being that Bruce Arians, when you first started to hear the whispers of him coming back, they said that the first team and only team at the time that he would consider coaching would actually be the Browns. And I think that there were whispers, and he said, you know, because of you guys' fan base and how passionate that you guys were, that he felt like that would be an ideal coaching side or coaching place for him. So I was kind of surprised that he wasn't kind of taken into account for that position, because I think he would have been the perfect guy that Odell Beckham Jr. and Baker Mayfield, especially you look at what he did with Roethlisberger, Andrew Luck, all of his quarterback development, Carson Palmer. I think that would have been really like a good hiring for you guys. I think that he should have been the guy that you guys brought in there. And obviously that ship is sailed because he's in Tampa. But when I heard that, I kind of got scared. Like, and this was before I think you guys actually traded for Odell. And so I was like, man, if they get Bruce Arians, that's going to be a problem for us.
Yeah, I think the reason they didn't go that direction, I don't even think they interviewed Bruce Arians, unfortunately. One, I think they thought that Freddie Kitchens, as silly as it's going to sound, I think they thought he was a younger version of Bruce Arians because they do run the same offense and they do have like similar mindsets and everything. And obviously, you know, the offenses are similar. Look at the interception totals between him and Jameis. You know, it's the same concept. I just think that they thought that Bruce was too old, that they were scared off by him retiring. And I think they really did want to get a young head coach in here to kind of be the guy for Baker Mayfield for the next 10, 20 years. I think they really did envision that happening with Freddie Kitchens. I think they had a few missed opportunities last offseason with the coaching. And I think they have some opportunities this season. If you haven't seen my video, I did one about Pete Carmichael Jr., the Saints offensive coordinator. He's been there for 11 years. I think he would really be a great fit in Cleveland. Ron Rivera is going to be going to Washington, I think, so that's not going to be available. But, you know, I just hope they do their due diligence. I hope they don't get caught up in what everybody in the media is saying. I don't think you need a former head coach. I think you just need to find the right person and, you know, do your due diligence and hire that guy, whether he's a coordinator with, you know, a bunch of experience or not. But yeah, the Browns head coaching search last year was just a complete whiff from a lot of different standpoints. I think they fell in love with Freddie Kitchens very early on and didn't really consider anything else.